200 guests. My wife in her best dress on the ground covered in mud. My son put his arm around his bride and whispered something that made her laugh. I stood there for a moment, then I walked slowly to the microphone. No one expected that. I tapped it once, and the music stopped so suddenly it felt wrong. 200 people turned to look at me, while my wife was still lying in the flower bed beside the terrace, her champagne-colored dress soaked in wet dirt. The sun was setting behind the oak trees, golden light everywhere, the kind photographers love, the kind that makes rich people think a perfect backdrop can hide ugly things. But nothing looked beautiful anymore. Jennifer, my daughter, rushed toward Catherine while guests stood frozen with drinks in their hands, pretending not to stare. Across the terrace, Madison already had another glass of champagne. And Trevor, my son, had his arm around her waist. That hurt more than I expected. Not the push, not even the humiliation. Him choosing her comfort before helping his own mother off the ground. I took the microphone from the band leader and stepped into the middle of the terrace. "Thank you all for being here today," I said. My voice sounded calm. I didn't feel calm. Unfortunately, Catherine and I will be leaving now, and I want everyone here to understand something clearly. The entire terrace went silent. I will never stand beside cruelty. Not in public, not in private, not even for family. I handed the microphone back and walked away. No yelling. No dramatic scene. That almost made it worse. By the time I reached Catherine, tears were sliding quietly down her face. Jennifer had helped her sit up, but the dress was ruined beyond saving. "Raymond," Catherine whispered. "She pushed me." "I know." "Nope, she actually shoved me." I helped her stand carefully. Her shoes were gone somewhere in the mud, so she walked barefoot beside me through a crowd too uncomfortable to make eye contact. Behind us, Trevor called out, "Dad, wait!" I didn't stop. Inside the car, Catherine finally broke. I don't understand why she hates me this much. And the truth was, I did understand. I'd been watching it build for over a year. Small comments at family dinners. Little humiliations disguised as jokes. Madison correcting Catherine in front of guests, talking over her, acting like kindness was weakness. Every time Catherine tried to ignore it. Every time I told myself it was wedding stress. I should have listened sooner. At the hotel, Catherine went straight into the shower while I sat on the edge of the bed staring at my phone. Then I opened my banking app. 5 years of helping Trevor flashed across the screen. Car repairs, credit card bailouts, $42,000 for the wedding, and $60,000 sitting in escrow for the house Trevor and Madison were supposed to close on next week. Money I quietly gave because he was my son. My finger hovered over the transfer cancellation button for almost 10 seconds. Then I pressed it, and that was only the beginning. If you've ever watched someone protect the wrong person while the people who loved them suffered, subscribe to the channel, because this story gets much worse before it gets better. Once I cancelled the down payment, something inside me settled. Not anger, certainty. For the first time in months, I stopped making excuses for people who knew exactly what they were doing. Catherine came out of the bathroom wearing a hotel robe, her eyes swollen from crying. "What did you do?" she asked quietly. I looked up from my phone. I cancelled the transfer for the house. Her face went pale. "Raymond, I'm not paying for a future built on humiliating you." She sat beside me slowly, like her body suddenly weighed too much. "They're going to lose the house." "I know. And Trevor's going to hate you." That one stayed in the room between us, because she was probably right. But every time I pictured my son wrapping his arm around Madison, while Catherine lay in the mud behind him, my sympathy disappeared all over again. That night I kept going. I called the photographer first, then the florist. Then the honeymoon hotel suite I'd upgraded as a surprise. Every contract had my name on it, because Trevor once told me Madison was sensitive about money and didn't want to feel judged. So I handled things quietly. Now those same signatures gave me control. The photographer sounded panicked when I told her not to release the wedding photos. "Mr. Dalton, the bride is already asking for previews. She can ask all she wants," I told her. "I paid for the service. I'm revoking permission." The silence on the other end told me she was already opening the contract. The florist argued. The hotel manager tried to negotiate. I didn't care. By midnight, nearly every luxury attached to that wedding was gone. And somewhere across the city, Trevor and Madison still had no idea. The next morning, Jennifer called. "Dad, after you left, the entire reception collapsed." "Good." "Dad, seriously." Madison was screaming at people. Half the guests left before dinner. I stared out the hotel window at downtown traffic moving below us. "Your mother was shoved into the dirt in front of 200 people. "I know," Jennifer said softly. "I saw it." Then her voice changed. "There's something else. Trevor keeps calling me. He sounds terrified. He'll understand why tomorrow morning." There was a long pause. "What exactly did you cancel?" "All of it." She exhaled slowly. "Oh my God." Monday morning came fast. Trevor called 3 times before I answered. "Dad, the escrow company says the transfer was cancelled." "That's correct." "You can't do this." "I already did." His breathing got heavier over the line. "We close on Friday. If the money doesn't arrive, we lose the house. You should have thought about that before your wife shoved your mother into a flower bed." "It was an accident." "No, Trevor. An accident is spilling wine. She put both hands on your mother and pushed. She was emotional." "And you laughed." "I was trying to calm her down." That excuse made something cold settle deeper into my chest, because he still didn't understand. "You saw your mother lying in the dirt," I said quietly, "and your first instinct was protecting Madison from consequences." Silence. Then finally, "What do you want me to do?" I almost answered immediately. "Apologize. Mean it. Choose better." But instead I said, "You should have done the right thing before I had to force this conversation." Then I hung up. An hour later, Madison texted me. Not an apology. A strategy. "Raymond, I think there's been a misunderstanding. I never intended for Catherine to get hurt." I read it twice. Carefully written. Not, "I'm sorry for pushing her." Not, "I was wrong." Just enough language to protect herself without admitting guilt. I ignored it. Then she called. And the sweet tone disappeared immediately. "What the hell are you trying to prove?" she snapped. "That actions have consequences. You're destroying our lives over one moment." "No. You destroyed your own life when you humiliated my wife and expected everyone to pretend it was normal. She was interfering all day." She answered a guest's question about where Trevor was. "That's your justification?" She was making everything about herself. I laughed then. Not because it was funny, because hearing a grown woman defend shoving a 61-year-old into mud, like it was reasonable, sounded insane when spoken out loud. "You need help, Madison." "And you need control," she shot back. Then she hung up. That afternoon, Trevor showed up at the house. He looked exhausted. Same wrinkled suit pants from the wedding. Bloodshot eyes, no confidence left. "I know I failed," he said before even sitting down. For the first time since the wedding, he sounded honest. "I froze, Dad." I stayed quiet. "She convinced herself Mom was trying to ruin the wedding. I knew it wasn't true, but I kept trying to keep the peace instead of shutting it down." "And when she pushed your mother?" He swallowed hard. "I panicked." I looked at him for a long moment. "You chose the wrong person to protect." His eyes filled instantly because he knew I was right. If you've ever watched somebody realize too late that one weak moment destroyed everything important around them, subscribe. Because Trevor still had no idea how much more this situation was about to cost him. For a while, everything stayed broken. Trevor lost the house. He and Madison moved into her parents' home, and according to Jennifer, the fighting started almost immediately. Money, blame, embarrassment. Every ugly crack that should have been obvious before the wedding finally split open afterward. Then came the video. Madison's maid of honor uploaded the clip online with a caption mocking Catherine. Within 2 days, hundreds of thousands of people had seen my wife being shoved into the mud like it was entertainment. Catherine watched it once, then quietly closed her laptop and went upstairs. That hurt more than the wedding itself, because humiliation fades, but public humiliation stays alive forever. A month later, Trevor came back. Not angry this time, just tired. "I should have protected Mom," he said. "I know." "No, I really understand it now." His marriage was already collapsing by then. Madison blamed him for losing the money. Trevor blamed himself for losing his family. And somewhere inside all that wreckage, he finally stopped defending the wrong person. The divorce was finalized less than a year after the wedding. Funny how quickly forever can end. Now Trevor comes by every week for dinner. Slowly, carefully. We're rebuilding something that almost disappeared completely. Not because time fixed it, because accountability finally did. And Catherine? She still goes quiet sometimes when weddings come up. I'll catch her staring at her hands like she's back on that terrace again. Every single time I remember why I made the choices I did. I didn't destroy my son's life. I just refused to financially protect people who thought cruelty was acceptable. And even now, I don't regret that. If this story meant something to you, subscribe to the channel, because sometimes the hardest thing a parent can do is finally draw a line.